Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we cut through the noise to analyze the architects of creative genius.
Oh,
Today, we are focusing on a musician whose main instrument doesn't just, play notes. It does way more.
oh yeah.
It conjures elephants, mimics car horns, builds entire industrial soundscapes. We're diving deep into the career of Robert Stephen Belew.
Adrian Belew.
Adrian Belew, exactly. A self-taught phenomenon whose sound design became just as influential, maybe even more so, than his guitar playing itself.
That's a perfect way to put it. Adrian Belew is, well, he's an American musician, singer, songwriter, record producer, does a bit of everything.
Multi-instrumentalist.
Definitely. Noted for abilities across multiple instruments, but yes, his reputation is really cemented by that unique approach to the electric guitar. And his vocals, you can't mistake those vocals. Critics consistently describe his playing as incredibly versatile, fluid, expressive, often using that phrase you mentioned, that his guitar resembles animal noises or mechanical rumblings.
And that versatility, that's really the core of our mission today, isn't it?
I don't think so.
We're looking for the shortcut, the way to really grasp his staggering career arc. I mean, how did a self-taught cover band musician from Kentucky,
Right?
how did he manage to become the musical foil for someone like Frank Zappa,
Yeah.
then lead guitarist for David Bowie, and eventually the conceptual frontman for one of the most, let's face it, intellectually demanding prog rock bands ever, King Crimson?
It's a pretty wild trajectory, almost unlikely,
Totally.
So our blueprint today, we'll trace it chronologically, but also analytically. We'll start by tracing the genesis of that unique sound, that sort of crucial moment of self-discovery that defined his whole tone.
Okay.
Then we'll move into that intense rapid-fire period. We're calling it the crash course collaborations
Yeah.
that basically launched him professionally.
The late 70s, early 80s.
Exactly. After that, we absolutely have to dissect his decades-long tenure leading King Crimson. That's huge.
Can't skip that.
No way. And finally, we'll unpack the true depth of his innovation, the specific techniques, the immense gear setup, and his pioneering role in music technology, which is often overlooked.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Let's trace this path back to the genesis, starting in Covington, Kentucky. Robert Stephen Belew, born 1949, started out simply as Steve. And remarkably, the guitar wasn't even his first love, was it?
No, not at all. He was originally a drummer, played in the Ludlow High School marching band,
Right.
and later in a local cover band called the Deanums, just playing drums.
So how did the guitar happen?
Well, the pivot to guitar was purely accidental, really, driven by illness.
Illness.
Yeah, he was bedridden with mononucleosis.
Illness.
Mono. And that forced downtime just led him to pick up the guitar.
Wow. And who inspired him, then?
Initially, Jimi Hendrix. That was the initial, explosive inspiration.
Makes sense.
He was also heavily influenced by Lonnie Mack, who actually later became a close personal friend and collaborator.
That's cool. But this is where the story gets really interesting, I think. This is what defines his future success.
Yeah.
Belew never pursued formal music study, entirely self-taught,
Completely.
learned everything by listening religiously to records. Now, here's the crucial moment, the core insight into his genius, maybe.
Okay.
He wasn't aware of the studio manipulation, the compression, the overdubs, the huge reverb units, all the stuff used to create some of those really strange, distinctive guitar lines he was hearing on those records.
Exactly. Precisely. Because he didn't realize those sounds were, artificially constructed in the studio.
Right.
He just decided he had to replicate them manually, instantly, in real time.
Which meant
he had to find really unusual playing techniques and combine an ever-expanding array of effects pedals in ways that, frankly, nobody else was using.
So that misunderstanding, that became the catalyst.
The single greatest catalyst for his trademark style.
Yeah.
His entire musical philosophy was pretty much established right there.
Yeah.
He was determined to avoid sounding like everybody else.
And boy, did he accomplish that spectacularly.
Didn't he just?
That decision led directly to his signature sound, making the guitar mimic literal sound effects, whether it was, a car horn, an industrial drone, or those bizarre, unmistakable animal noises that would later define some of his biggest hits.
That really was the formation of the Lone Rhino identity, which became his first solo album title.
Ah, okay.
By the mid-1970s, he adopted the first name Adrian and moved to Nashville, still playing covers.
Yeah.
With that band Sweetheart.
Right.
And it's important to remember, just before his breakthrough, he was seriously questioning his future. wondering if he'd missed his chance to make a living playing original music.
Really? He was thinking of packing it in.
Apparently so, on the verge of giving up on the dream entirely right around 1977.
Talk about destiny intervening. Wow.
Right.
That near-miss retirement sets the stage perfectly for part two. This dense 5-year period from 77 to 82, the crash course, as you called it, where he just played with titan after titan of progressive and new wave music.
And the first titan, of course, Frank Zappa.
The Zappa School of Rock.
Absolutely. This period, 1977, 1978, it really was that. The discovery story itself is legendary.
How did Zappa find him?
Zappa found him playing with Sweetheart at Fanny's Bar in Nashville. He was tipped off by a chauffeur.
The chauffeur! Get out!
Yeah. The chauffeur insisted Zappa had to check out this guy who made his guitar sound like, quote, a truck driving down the street, or something like that.
I love that. The chauffeur is A&R man.
Yeah. But the first audition apparently was pretty daunting.
I bet. Zappa's band.
Exactly. Belew, totally self-taught, suddenly surrounded by these formally trained jazz and classical musicians Zappa was trying out. He felt he performed really poorly.
Oh, no.
He actually had to plead for a second chance, a more intimate audition, which Zappa granted, in his living room.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, that environment let Belew's unique personality and his ability to just conjure sounds immediately shine through, and Zappa hired him, guitarist and vocalist, for a year.
And Belew described that year as...
A profound crash course in music theory. That's his term.
Because before Zappa...
Before Zappa, Belew just knew what sounded right to him, by ear. Zappa, who was this incredibly rigorous musical intellectual, basically forced him to learn the language.
So, complex time signatures.
Oh, yeah. Intricate arrangements, mastering parts that required absolute precision. It was an intense professionalization of his raw talent, a real baptism by fire.
And his role in the band was incredibly demanding too, wasn't it? He had to be Zappa's sort of mirror image.
Essentially, yeah, covering his leader's parts. When Zappa sang, Belew played Zappa's complex guitar part.
Okay.
And conversely, when Zappa launched into a guitar solo, Belew sang Zappa's vocal line.
Wow. That's an intense workout in both musicianship and just sheer stamina.
Absolutely. But beyond the musicianship, Zappa also needed this element of like visual chaos and absurdity in his shows.
Right.
And Belew just totally embraced the role of the band clown. He was theatrical.
Doing impressions.
Doing impressions, yeah. Dead-on ones. Most famously, Bob Dylan on the track Flakes.
I remember reading about his willingness to just engage in pure theatrical absurdity. Didn't he say something like...
Yeah, the quote is something like, need someone to wear a flashing helmet and bounce around like a robot. How about Adrian? Need someone to wear a dress on stage. There's always Adrian.
So that performance instinct, that theatrical side, was really nurtured under Zappa.
Fully nurtured. He appeared on the 1979 album Chic Your Booty, sang lead on tracks like Jones Crusher and City of Tiny Lights.
Right.
And he's all over the concert film Baby Snakes.
Okay, so Zappa was the crash course. Then, almost immediately, he bridges the gap to David Bowie.
Immediately.
Yeah.
1978 and 1979. And the recommendation came from Brian Eno.
Ah, Eno, of course.
Eno was working with Bowie at the time. Belew accepted the gig because Zappa was tied up editing that Baby Snakes film and wasn't planning to tour right away.
So, straight into the deep end again. Lead guitarist and backing vocalist for Bowie's massive 1978 Isolar Second World Tour.
Which is documented on the live album Stage. Great record.
Yeah. And he also contributed to the 1979 studio album Lodger.
And their professional relationship was clearly strong because Belew came back over a decade later, in 1990, to be the musical director for Bowie's Big Sound Plus Vision tour.
That's right. Okay, Zappa, Bowie. But the next major collaboration is maybe the most fraught. Talking Heads and the Tom Tom Club.
Yeah, starting around 1979, this gets a bit messy.
So he befriended the Talking Heads in New York.
Right, and was hired to add guitar solos to their absolutely seminal 1980 album, Remain in Light.
Which are incredible solos.
Oh, totally. Signature Belew sounds all over that. His work was so impressive that he joined the expanded 9-piece touring band they needed to perform that complex album live.
And that's documented on the name of this band as Talking Heads.
That's the one. But that era introduced some significant internal friction within the band.
The story about him potentially replacing David Byrne.
Allegedly, yeah. The rhythm section, Tina Weymouth and Chris Frantz, supposedly suggested Belew replace Byrne as frontman. Tensions were apparently running high.
Wow, and Belew.
Belew very diplomatically declined the offer. Although Chris Frantz later publicly denied the proposition was ever formally made. So, conflicting accounts there.
Still, it speaks volumes about Belew's charisma and musical authority at that point, that he was even considered as a replacement for an icon like Byrne.
Absolutely. But the drama didn't end there. He then joined Weymouth in France for their debut side project, the Tom Tom Club.
Working at Compass Point Studios in the Bahamas.
Right. Paradise turning a bit sour, maybe. He played on the massive hit single Genius of Love, provided that instantly recognizable riff.
Oh yeah, everyone knows that riff.
Such a perfect blend of, like, funk rhythm and his trademark tone manipulation's
Yeah.
weird springy sound.
But this is where the friction turned toxic, right?
Apparently so. The recording engineer, Stephen Stanley, according to Belew anyway, took some liberties during mixing, unilaterally erased the majority of Belew's guitar solos.
Ouch. That's brutal.
Yeah, and the breakdown became complete when Belew requested songwriting credits for his contributions, which seems reasonable given that riff.
You think so?
Weymouth apparently stopped talking to him, and he immediately ceased working with the group. Never contributed to future records. Never played live with them again.
Wow. That's a sad end to what was clearly a highly fruitful creative period.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Belew was essentially operating in 4 different artistic lanes simultaneously.
Zappa's precision,
Bowie's electronic art pop,
Talking Heads' new wave funk.
and the Tom Club's minimalist groove. He navigated all of them by establishing his unique sound, yet he also clearly understood when an environment just became professionally untenable.
So that intense 5-year collaboration period, absorbing theory, embracing theatricality, developing his sonic identity under massive pressure, that leads directly to the defining chapter of his career.
Becoming the frontman of King Crimson.
Yeah. How did that connection happen?
It started with Robert Fripp, the conceptual leader, the constant in King Crimson. Fripp had been watching Belew closely. He was impressed by his guitar work with Bowie, and also with Belew's own newly formed band in 1980, Gaga. So Fripp approached him about joining a new 4-piece project. Initially, they called it Discipline.
And Belew accepted.
He did. He apparently saw it as an escape from the strained, kind of politically charged environment of the Talking Heads camp at that point.
Makes sense.
He joined on one crucial condition,
Yeah.
which Fripp agreed to. He had to be allowed to continue his burgeoning solo career alongside the band's commitments.
Smart move. And the lineup.
The lineup solidified with Fripp and Belew on guitars, joined by former King Crimson and Yes drummer Bill Bruford.
Legend.
Absolute legend. And the incredible bassist and Chapman stick player Tony Levin.
Okay, we should probably pause there for a sec. Define the Chapman stick for people who might not know.
Good idea. The Chapman stick, it's essentially a 10 or 12 string sort of guitar bass hybrid instrument, but it's played primarily by tapping the strings with both hands like a keyboard player.
Right.
So Levin used it to cover both complex bass lines and rhythmic chordal patterns, often simultaneously. It was absolutely key to the sound of this new King Crimson.
Got it. And during their initial tours, the name Discipline was ditched.
Yeah, they pretty quickly renamed themselves King Crimson, which carried a lot more historical weight, obviously.
And this decision really cemented Belew's historical significance within the band, didn't it?
Hugely. He became the first guitarist to formally play alongside Fripp on an equal, truly collaborative footing. They were dual guitarists. Fripp wasn't the sole 6-string authority anymore.
And lyrically.
Furthermore, Belew became the first King Crimson singer to write the vast majority of his own lyrics. He took on the primary conceptual burden for the whole 80s era of the band.
That era started really successfully with Discipline in 1981. That album is defined by those sharp, complex, interlocking rhythms, like new wave-infused prog.
It still sounds fresh, but the tension that would kind of define their working relationship that soon emerged when they started recording the follow-up albums, Beat in 82 and 3 of a Perfect Pair in 84.
Those sessions got difficult.
Increasingly difficult, by all accounts. We know that Belew bore the brunt of the songwriting pressure, being the main lyricist and singer. And he and Fripp frequently clashed, argued over the band's musical approach, the overall sound.
What was the core disagreement, do you think?
Well, Fripp is, a master of conceptual rigor. He often favors texture, intricate mathematical composition, discipline, you could say.
Right.
Belew brought a more instinctive, melodic, sometimes even a pop-oriented sensibility to these complex structures, plus that whole sound effects thing. It was bound to create friction.
Given that friction, though, why did Fripp keep him fronting the band for basically another 2 decades, on and off?
That's a great question. The sources suggest that Belew's ability to anchor the conceptual complexity of the music with powerful, relatable lyrics, plus his unparalleled sonic palette. It was probably necessary to make the band commercially viable in the 80s and creatively distinct from the 70s versions.
He was the essential creative counterweight.
I think that's fair. But the disagreements did ultimately take their toll. Fripp split the band again after the 1984 tour.
But as often happens with King Crimson.
Exactly. The camaraderie and respect remained strong enough for a major reunion about a decade later. They were formed in 1994.
As a sextet this time.
Yeah, expanding to a sextet, adding drummer Pat Mastelotto and war guitarist Trey Gunn.
Okay, another specialized instrument, the
Yeah.
war guitar.
Yeah, similar concept to the Chapman stick. It's also a tapped string instrument, used for highly complex rhythmic and harmonic layers.
Yeah.
Perfect for this newly expanded, really dense lineup they called the Double Trio.
And that lineup released Thrack in 1995.
Correct. And Belew stayed deeply involved even during the intermittent periods after that. Specifically, he participated in those experimental side projects Fripp called the Projects.
Starting in 97.
Yeah. And interestingly, despite being the lead guitarist in Crimson Prime, Belew predominantly played electronic drums in these projects.
Showing off his original instrument skills.
And his willingness to always serve the sonic needs of the concept, whatever that might be.
The group eventually reduced back down to a quartet for the construction of Light in 2000 and The Power to Believe in 2003.
And we know Belew played a really critical role in just the band's functional existence during this time. Between 2000 and 2008, King Crimson used Belew's home studio in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, for rehearsals and studio work.
Cementing his status as a key operational member, not just a creative one.
Absolutely. It was one of the longest continuous incarnations of King Crimson, really. Belew's tenure was second only to Fripp himself in terms of longevity within the band's history.
But it eventually concluded. September 2013, Fripp announced yet another new lineup.
As Fripp does.
And this one did not include Belew, marking the end of an era defined by his unique sonic exploration and lyrical insight.
Major chapter closed.
Okay, so while all that intense work was happening inside King Crimson and during the Crash Course collaborations before that, Belew was meticulously building his parallel solo career.
Yeah, never stopped.
And that career is characterized by this incredible swing between radical experimentation and genuinely surprising pop chart success.
That ability to just swing between, commercial viability and really out there avant-garde noise, that's a defining trait of Belew.
He released his first solo album, Lone Rhino, in 1982, fulfilling that condition he set for Fripp.
That's right. The album included material from his earlier band, Gaga, and featured that poignant, kind of adorable instrumental duet with his 4-year-old daughter, Audie, on piano.
He followed up quickly with Twang Bar King in 1983.
Yep. Standard rock album, relatively speaking.
But then, let's talk about the album he jokingly, or maybe not so jokingly, called The Contract Killer.
Desire, Caught by the Tail, 1986.
Yeah. This was wildly experimental, entirely instrumental, made solely with processed guitar, guitar synthesizer, and percussion.
And this is where you really see that tension between artistic need and commercial reality play out. Belew explicitly stated that the aggressively avant-garde nature of this record, it cost him his contract with Island Records.
They just didn't know what to do with it.
Pretty much. For Belew, though, this album was clearly an artistic necessity. A pure exploration of what the electric guitar could sound like if you detached it entirely from traditional melody or structure, favoring texture and sound manipulation over chord changes.
He prioritized that artistic expression, even knowing it might jeopardize his mainstream career path.
Absolutely. That defiance, however, didn't stop him from swinging back towards a more song-focused collective effort. In 1985, he formed the Bears.
With Rob Fetters, Chris Arducer, and Bob Neiswanger, friends from his early Sweetheart days in Nashville.
Exactly. The Bears was a very conscious attempt to create a unified group, shared vocals, collective songwriting, offering a much more structured kind of power pop approach than King Crimson allowed.
They released 2 albums.
Before breaking up in 1989, mainly because their label, PMRC, collapsed, but they kept that core relationship going, reuniting intermittently for studio albums later on, like Car Caught Fire and Eureka.
It's fascinating how quickly he could pivot back to pop, though. The late 80s saw him hit real commercial success as a solo artist.
Yeah, his 1989 album, Mr. Music Head, produced the single Oh Daddy, which reached number 5 on the U.S. Modern Rock chart.
And that was the duet with his daughter Audie again, now 11 years old.
A sweet callback to that first solo album. Yeah.
And the success continued with Young Lions in 1990, which strategically featured guest appearances by David Bowie,
resulting in 2 more hits. The duet Pretty Pink Rose, which hit number 2 on U.S. Modern Rock.
Huge hit.
And Men in Helicopters, which got to number 17. And this pop peak happened at the exact same time he was working as the musical director for Bowie's massive Sound Plus Vision tour.
That just showcases his incredible ability to balance wildly different musical demands. Complex prog work 1 minute, straight ahead pop sensibility the next.
Mind-boggling multitasking.
But the internal innovator never rested, did he? He doubled down again on his experimental side by launching the experimental guitar series.
Right. Volume 1, The Guitarist Orchestra, came out in 1995. And this is a phenomenal example of his technological pioneering.
It's an album of atonal contemporary classical music, realized entirely on MIDI guitar.
Entirely. Maybe we should explain MIDI guitar quickly.
Good idea.
Okay, so a MIDI guitar uses a specialized pickup. It converts the vibrational signals of the strings into MIDI data, musical instrument, digital interface data.
Just like a keyboard synth.
Exactly. This digital data can then control synthesizers, samplers, anything that understands MIDI. It allows the guitar to sound like literally anything: a piano, drums, a flute, or in this case, a full orchestral brass section.
So Belew used his guitar to digitally model and play every single instrument in an orchestra for that entire album.
Yeah, just showcasing the guitar's potential far, far beyond its traditional sonic limits, pushing the envelope again.
Moving forward a bit, let's acknowledge his significant role in industrial music, too.
Oh yeah, the Nine Inch Nails connection.
He became Trent Reznor's guest guitarist of choice, apparently. Appeared on 4 major NIN albums across 19 years.
The Downward Spiral, The Fragile, Ghosts IV, and Hesitation Marks. That's a serious run.
Reznor's trust in Belew's ability to just create unique, often brutal textures and industrial noise is really well documented.
The connection was strong enough that Belew was even briefly named NIN's touring guitarist in 2013, though he left before any live dates happened.
Why was that?
Reportedly due to differences in touring logistics and expectations. Just didn't quite match in practice, it seems.
Okay. In the 21st century, he established a long-term touring unit, the Adrian Belew Power Trio.
Right. Featuring 2 former students from the Paul Green School of Rock, interestingly, Eric Slick on drums and Julie Slick on bass.
And they released the album E in 2009, continuing that tradition of complex, precise, yet really aggressive, progressive music.
A great live band, too.
And he remains intensely active, doesn't he? That versatility was seen again when he scored the Pixar short film Piper in 2016.
Yeah.
Beautiful score.
Gorgeous. And on the road, he continues to connect the dots of his own history. Like touring in 2023 with Jerry Harrison on the Remain in Light tour, playing the music he helped create 4 decades earlier.
Full circle. And most recently in 2024, he joined Tony Levin, Steve Vai, and Tool drummer Danny Carey in that supergroup Beat.
Specifically performing the music of the 1980s King Crimson lineup, which must be incredible to hear live with that lineup.
Absolutely. This ongoing high-level activity perfectly validates our final segment then, focusing on the sheer ingenuity of the man and his methods.
Yeah, let's dive into the specifics, the innovator style, gear, and influence. We've talked conceptually about his signature sound, but let's get really specific.
Okay.
He's noted for a playing style featuring just bizarre electronic tones, really unorthodox techniques, and sonic effects that explicitly mimic the natural and mechanical world.
Animals, birds, insects.
Vehicles, industrial mechanical noise, you name it, he's probably tried to make his guitar sound like it.
And the sounds themselves are iconic. That chorus riff in Paul Simon's You Can Call Me Al, that's him, right? Highly rhythmic, kind of quirky sound.
That's him. The infectious, really springy riff on Tom Clubb's Genius of Love.
Him and again.
Him again. And perhaps most definitively, those elephant impressions he creates on King Crimson's track, Elephant Talk.
Okay, how does he do that one?
Well, that Elephant Talk sound. It isn't just one effect pedal. It's a combination of unorthodox technique and deep processing.
Technique-like.
He uses the vibrato bar, the whammy bar, extensively.
Yeah.
Coupled with pitch-shifting effects, often those classic electro-harmonics pedals, like a whammy, or similar to simulate that lumbering, wide-ranging pitch of an elephant's trumpet call. Big bends, slides.
Got it. So how does he achieve this level of sonic texture generally? The list of his extended techniques is just staggering. It goes way beyond standard guitar playing.
Oh, yeah. It includes two-handed tapping, like Van Halen, but often more textural. Pick scrapes along the strings, unorthodox slide guitar techniques, using objects like actual metal files to physically attack the strings.
Using files? Seriously?
Whatever it takes to get the sound. One of the most unusual techniques is actually bending the neck of the guitar itself.
Doesn't that damage the guitar?
On a standard guitar, yeah. Bending the neck risks damaging it.
Yeah.
But Belew does this purposefully to modulate pitch way beyond what the standard vibrato bar can do. He treats the entire structure of the guitar, the wood, the metal, the strings, as a sound-making object.
Wow.
He even produces sounds from off the fretboard, like from the string length between the nut and the tuning pegs or behind the bridge. He's seeking out every possible source of resonance or noise.
So this means the gear isn't just an add-on, it's compositional, right?
Totally. It's integral. He's famous for using an immense array, as critics say, of electronic effects pedals. Electroharmonics has been a mainstay throughout his career. Pedals like the big muff distortion fuzz, the memory man delay, those are essential for his textural and looping capabilities.
He builds sounds with pedals.
He admitted once to composing specifically for the capabilities of his amplifiers and effects. He even noted once that he lamented the demise of a specific amplifier because, quote, he had wrote specific sounds and types of looping and things that I just can't seem to make other amps do.
That proves it right there. The sonic pathway is integrated into the architecture of the composition itself.
Exactly. And as we mentioned with the Guitarist Orchestra, he was a true pioneer of the guitar synthesizer, one of the very first players to consistently use them in popular music, starting way back in the 1980s.
He used early models like the Roland GR300 and GR1.
Yeah, and he even owned a rare Roland GR505 fretless guitar synthesizer, which shows his commitment to digital modeling and sound conversion really early on. Fretless synth guitar.
Yeah.
Wild.
And in the modern era, that commitment to specialized instruments continues, doesn't it, with his signature Parker Fly guitar.
Oh, yeah. He collaborated with Parker Guitars to design his signature model. And that guitar is a technological marvel. It features advanced, really lightweight composite materials. And this comprehensive electronics package built right in. Including a sustainer pickup, which uses electromagnetism to keep notes ringing indefinitely. Line Variax integration.
Which digitally models dozens of different classic guitars.
Exactly. So he can sound like a Telecaster, a Les Paul, an acoustic, whatever, just by flicking a switch. And it has full MIDI capability built in, too. It's essentially his entire sound library integrated into one instrument.
Incredible. Now, we absolutely must talk about that magnificent visual prop that became legendary, the so-called rubber neck guitar.
Ah, yes. The wiggly guitar.
It appeared so strikingly in the Laurie Anderson film Home of the Brave, and in the video for his 1989 hit, Oh, Daddy.
It was just incredible rock and roll theater, known for its ability to dramatically bend and flex like it was made of rubber. The visual impact was huge.
But
Belew revealed in 2007 that the guitar was solely an unplayable visual prop.
No way. It didn't actually play.
Nope. It apparently contained metal vertebrae inside to allow the flex, but it was purely for show. A fantastic piece of visual manipulation, contrasting the sophisticated engineering of his actual instruments.
That's brilliant. He hasn't stopped pushing technology forward either, has he? Even moving into the software realm with mobile apps.
Right. He designed iOS mobile apps, notably FLUX.FX, which is a professional audio multi-effects app for the iPad. He said it allows him to make sounds that he actually can't achieve with any other physical gear he owns.
Wow.
And even more conceptually innovative is the FLUX by Belew app. This is an application containing over 300 audio tracks and pieces of artwork, engineered to, quote, never play the same twice.
How does that work?
It constantly reorganizes and remixes the audio and visual elements algorithmically into unique sonic and visual structures every time you launch it. It's generative art, basically.
That's mind-bending. And the industry recognized this digital innovation.
They did. Both apps were honored in the 2015 Webby Awards and the Red Dot Design Awards. Pretty prestigious.
To round out his influence, we have to recognize his extensive session career as well. He was the go-to guy when you needed something completely unique, wasn't he?
Absolutely. He contributed heavily to Paul Simon's monumental albums Graceland and The Rhythm of the Saints. His textural guitar work just blended seamlessly with those African and Brazilian influences Simon was exploring.
He also played on Cyndi Lauper's True Colors,
Laurie Anderson's Mr. Heartbreak,
and in maybe the most bizarre cameo, contributed guitar to William Shatner's second musical album, Has Been.
Produced by Ben Folds, yeah. Belew pops up everywhere. And let's not forget his production work either.
Right. He produced albums for bands like the Raisins and the Elvis Brothers back in the 80s.
And in the 90s, he branched out. Produced 2 tracks for Jars of Clay, including their huge crossover Christian hit Flood.
Didn't know that.
He also fostered international connections, producing albums for 3 major Mexican rock bands, Caifanes, Santa Sabina, and Jaguars. Again, proving his adaptability across genres and languages.
Finally, then, we have to appreciate the depth of his legacy, the influence he's had.
He's cited as a major influence by artists across the entire spectrum of rock and pop. People like Adam Jones from Tool,
You can hear that sometimes.
Steven Wilson, St. Vincent, both Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarists, Hillel Slovak and John Frusciante were big admirers.
Wow.
But maybe the ultimate expression of his impact is that powerful 1994 quote from Trent Reznor, who described Belew in the simplest, most profound terms possible.
What did he say?
The most awesome musician in the world.
High praise indeed. So when we synthesize everything we've looked at, the self-taught origins, that intense crash course under Zappa, the willingness to embrace the role of band clown,
The technical rigor required for King Crimson.
and that constant balancing act between pop success and avant-garde noise, the core identity of Adrian Belew really emerges, doesn't it?
It does. He's an innovator whose absolute refusal to sound like everybody else forged a signature sonic identity recognized all over the world.
We've watched him effortlessly pivot between the industrial electronics of Nine Inch Nails, the interlocking progressive complexity of Fripp, and genuine radio-friendly pop success.
His career is just one long, sustained study in extreme versatility and technological adoption, from those early guitar synths right up to the FLUX apps today.
Okay, that leads perfectly to the final provocative thought we want to leave you, the listener, with today. How does this model a career built not necessarily on traditional virtuosity, although he has chops, but built entirely on cultivating and defending a unique, instantly recognizable sonic identity through constant technological pioneering? How does that serve as the ultimate blueprint, maybe, for musical longevity and creative relevance in the highly fragmented, rapidly changing 21st century music landscape?
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the magnificent noise architect, Adrian Belew.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.